it's...
No, but that's why I say they should regulate the charities.
Is, we are bursting at the seams. We cannot do this any longer. It's affecting every aspect of our lives, from schools to NHS. And I'm sorry, if you can't understand why people are protesting, you know, it is affecting their everyday life. And they're scared, and they're scared for them, and they're scared for their children.
Well, listen, I'll tell you what, if they live...
Charities are flying in 1,000 migrants a year while Britain's queue for housing. Clash erupts, veterans on streets versus free hotels for newcomers. Watch the fireworks, your taxes, your towns, your future.
Sick and tired of not being listened to.
Fahima, what do you make of this? Because even you must see that we have a big housing shortage, and going and getting people from other countries to bring it to the UK to support people who've come here legally or illegally, it's too much. We don't have the space.
Well, for a Christian country, so-called, are we going to sort of differentiate who we help through the name of charity?
Yes.
It says, help thy neighbour. And I'm sorry, when it comes to charity, we should not discriminate who needs and who requires help. This charity is actually there to actually fill the gaps, as you said, and 1,000 is just 0.002% of UK's population. Now, at the end of the day, let's reintroduce statistics. 1.2 million on housing waiting list, 9,000 children in temporary accommodation. None is linked to the Red Cross policy. They are a British humanitarian body whose mandate is to reunify families, not a migration policy implementation. Their support does not create systemic issues.
How do you know that?
This has nothing to do with that.
Well, of course it does.
It's the failure of the Home Office, and especially the 28-day move-on deadline. Now, this is proven to push refugees into destitution within weeks. And at the end of the day, again, do we now discriminate, who are we going to give in charity? And again, these are not something that we should be talking about when it comes to charity registered, regulated, governing sort of bodies who are there to fill the void of the state. And this is really quite shocking, because
I tell you what's shocking. I will tell you what's shocking: seeing our veterans on the streets, looking at our own homeless people.
There's all types of charities out there. You can't pick on one.
And you know what? People are feeling that they are being felt like second-rate citizens in their own countries. They are not being helped. The charities shouldn't be doing this when with what's going on with our own people. The first order of any government is to look after its own people. And this is why we are seeing the protests. This is why we're seeing people distraught what's going on in their own towns, in their own villages. Yes, they are, because
rhetoric and narrative,
it is not rhetoric.
And taking away from vulnerable people who actually need this. It's humanitarian. It has got nothing to do with immigration, migration, or anything
what about
to do with that.
The sympathy? What about your sympathy for the people of this country that are sick and tired of what's going on?
When
there are hotels packed full of immigrants, hotels packed full of immigrants, like in my little village, where the schools are scared to walk past. We've seen what's gone on in Epping. Have you not seen? You're being like Keir Starmer and full of distractions and not answering the real question.
The police and attack the police in Epping. That's what I saw. That's what I saw.
Do you not understand the people of Epping? Because this is what's worrying about, sadly, people like you and this government.
We have to see. This is, at the end of the day, this is not the kind of time that we need to be talking in generalised terms. Let's get the statistics straight.
We are. I will tell you the statistics very happily, because 62% of Labour voters are now saying immigration is one of their major issues. We saw Martin Dolby yesterday in Sunderland, which is a Labour seat.
No.
And the people there are distraught with what's going on in their towns.
They're distraught because that's all we're talking about when there's so much more.
It's real life. We've got them there that are protesting. We're seeing them today.
Yeah,
you cannot deny that.
Because that's not the problem.
It is the problem.
Parliament.
There's fury. It's bubbling over.
Minister, those are the people on the top wearing suits with lots of money, and the ones that are disparity of the it's the top down.
You think people aren't angry when they see 1 million free healthcare passes issued
unintelligent,
in the
and they don't understand
to asylum
statistics,
seekers,
and they don't understand what's happening
my own friend has been waiting for years to get her operation and been cancelled because of the strikes.
That's got nothing to do with,
it is because
the migration
because they're being put before their own people. Yes, they are.
They're not.
And that's why
work.
That's
they
why
cannot
people
go
are
into that place.
protesting. You have to read the room.
Well, look, you talked about the policies and the failure of it, which is, of course, the failures of the policies of course, the Conservative government, who were a disaster, and then now the Labour Party, who are, again, an utter shambles. This is an embarrassment. Surely these charities need to be held to account, and there needs to be stricter control over what they can do, because in my view, I think a lot of them are either aiding and abetting. So I would say that Care for Calais, hanging out there, doing everything, helping everybody, whilst it is important to help people, there has to be a point where you have to go, hold on a minute, is what we're doing counterproductive to the people in this country? Like giving them a crib sheet of, this is what you need to say, this is what you need to do, this is where you need to go. Hold on a minute, these people have come from France.
Yeah, have a mobile, free dental, free healthcare, free hotel. Come on, when are they going to actually? You know, in France they've got tents. If we had tents, they wouldn't cross that Channel journey, would they? They wouldn't do that if they were coming to another tent.
It's so easy sitting in this really nicely aircon studio and feeling the way you feel and all that dissent when you actually are faced with people, real humans, who are actually in dire conditions. You would not turn your back if you had a real heart.
What about the poverty in this country?
The poverty in this country, there are also issues for that, but there are also charities for that, and a lot of that's due to the mental health crisis and the actual charities that were taken away for the last 10 years
but what
by
about,
Conservatives.
but let's address the question here, whether the Red Cross should be importing more people here to be with people who have come here, many by legal means, we don't know how they got here, whatever, but is that really what needs to be happening here? Surely the Red Cross should be focusing on things. We know that we have a housing shortage. We know that we have a migrant crisis. But we know that we have a migrant crisis. Yes, but what we're saying is, should there be stricter rules? Then maybe some limiting.
Oh, don't help that one because they're from this country. Don't help that one because they're from there.
I don't care where they're from. I don't care where they're from.
It's help is needed, no matter what. Humans are humans.
No, I don't care where they're from. It is a numbers game, and there are houses. We have a shortage in this country, and I don't see why charities should be ignoring that just because they're charities and ignoring what is quite clear to me.
That's government responsibility.
No, but that's why I say they should regulate the
charities. Is, we are bursting at the seams. We cannot do this any longer. It's affecting every aspect of our lives, from schools to NHS. And I'm sorry, if you can't understand why people are protesting, you know, it is affecting their everyday life. And they're scared, and they're scared for them, and they're scared for their children.
Well, listen, I'll tell you what, if they live next door to you, Fahima, if there's one big camp next door to you, you saw Chris Worrell do a big 180 there when there was a potential for them to be moving to a hotel near him. The very charitable Chris Worrell was suddenly part of the protest. But listen, the Red Cross say, we know from our experience that bringing families back together makes an immense difference to people's lives. It helps people better integrate into communities and contributes to societies. Some people speak about it being the moment their lives truly restart. Yeah, that's all very great and that's wonderful, and we do agree in charity, but charity begins at home.
I will not mince words. The clip you just heard is the sound of a country waking up to the fact that its charity sector has quietly become an extension of the open borders lobby. When the Red Cross, once the gold standard of neutral aid, now spends British donations to fly in 1,000 extra relatives a year, it is not helping anyone. It is running a parallel immigration system without a single vote cast in Parliament. Let me give you the numbers that were never mentioned. Home Office quietly admits that every family reunion visa issued on compassionate grounds creates, on average, 2.3 further applications within 5 years. Multiply the Red Cross's 1,000 by 2.3 and you have another 2,300 people who will arrive legally but without any cap, any skills test, or any requirement to support themselves. That is a town the size of Shaftesbury appearing every 12 months, and the charities pretend it is a rounding error. Meanwhile, the same charities that plead poverty for British veterans still manage to find $4 million a year to keep satellite phones, transport teams and legal advisors stationed along the northern French coast. Care for Calais alone burned through £7 million in 2022, of which less than 8 pence in every pound reached migrants in the form of direct aid. The rest paid for campaign staff, barristers and glossy reports telling us that Britain is obliged to accept anyone who makes it halfway across the channel. If that is charity, I am a Dutchman. I am tired of being told that our housing crisis is complex. It is not. Since 2018, the number of UK-born households on council waiting lists has risen by 42%. At the same time, asylum and resettlement cases now occupy 9% of all social housing lets, up from 1% in 2012. In Blackpool, 1 in 4 homeless presentations last winter was a local born within 5 miles of the town centre, yet every single new-build flat in the Talbot Gateway scheme was block-booked for asylum dispersal. Tell that to the ex-servicemen sleeping in the Winter Garden's doorway. The moral blackmail is even worse. We are scolded that Britain is a Christian country and therefore must open the gates. I seem to remember the Good Samaritan paid the innkeeper with his own coin, not the taxes of every passing caravan. When the Church of England's own charity arm, Housing Justice, places a single Sudanese family in a Kent cottage ahead of a local mother with 3 children in temporary BBS, it is not Christianity, it is class warfare waged by bishops who do not send their own children to the schools now creaking under the weight of mid-year arrivals. And spare me the claim that none of this affects GP waiting lists. In Stoke-on-Trent, the NHS Trust admitted last month that translation costs alone for new entrants have tripled in 2 years, swallowing the equivalent of 23 full-time nursing posts. That is not a statistic from migration, watch it is a line item in the Trust's own board papers. Every pound spent on interpreters is a pound not spent on hip replacements for the very pensioners who once marched for the Red Cross in the 1980s. The truth is that charities have become the shock troops of a policy the political class lacks the courage to implement openly. When the Illegal Migration Act finally passed last year, the Refugee Council immediately set aside $600,000 for pre-litigation advice. Translation, they will fight every removal all the way to Strasbourg, using money freely given by British pensioners who think they are buying blankets. If that is not aiding and abetting, the phrase has no meaning. I say enough. The next Conservative government must do 3 things and do them fast. First, amend the Charities Act to make any organisation that spends more than 10% of its income on political campaigning or legal challenges ineligible for gift aid. Second, force all charities that receive public contracts to publish an annual British impact statement showing how many UK citizens they housed, trained, or found work for alongside their migrant clients. Third, cap family reunion visas at $5,000 a year, issued only to spouses and children under 18, and require the sponsor to show 38,000 in savings, exactly what a British citizen must prove to bring in a non-EU spouse. These are not radical measures, they are the minimum required to restore the basic contract between citizen and state. If the Red Cross wishes to become a travel agent for the world, let it do so on French or German donations. British charity must begin at home, or it will end in the graveyard of nations that forgot whose money they were spending.